Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Situation Room in the United States of America. Today, we have a very important agenda to go over, as we have to go over the agenda on why the United States should not intervene in Ukraine. There are a myriad of reasons for this. However, three of the most important ones being the historical implications, the economic implications, and the political reasoning on why we should not intervene in Ukraine. However, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the other side and the people that would say that we do need to get involved in Ukraine. These people claim that we need to help Ukraine fight against a tyrant, Russia, because it's kind of how the United States was founded. However, what most people do not realize is that Vladimir Zelensky, Ukraine's president, has one term which is set to expire in 2024. In Ukraine, a president is elected for one 5-year term, and that's it. No chance to run for any sort of re-election. In other places, when this has happened and the U.S. has gotten involved, terrorist organizations have risen to power, including ISIS, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda. So, let's jump back in time and take a look at the historical implications of why the U.S. should not get involved in Ukraine. According to George Washington's farewell address, one thing that he advised his successors to do was stay out of foreign affairs if at all possible. One example that the U.S. actually has of following this advice is during the French Revolution. President Jefferson wanted to get involved. However, he decided that because there was no clear side to support, because one side was the French monarchy that we had an alliance with since the American Revolution, and the other side being the Rebel Alliance, which is how the United States was founded. So Jefferson decided that it'd be best to just not intervene. This ended up going really well for us. And in time where the U.S. has intervened in a situation, and it did not go very well, was the 2003 Gulf War invasion of Iraq. This did not go very well, and it ended up with the toppling of one tyrant and the putting in of another one that would end up being backed by a terrorist group and causing a whole lot of problems later on. Now that we've talked history, let's talk money as we dive into the economic reasons why the United States should not intervene with Ukraine. According to USTR.gov, the top 5 suppliers of U.S. goods are China, Mexico, Canada, Japan, and Germany. The top 5 buyers of U.S. goods are China, Mexico, Canada, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Where on this list are either Russia or Ukraine? Clearly, we should not get involved in this war, because Russia and Ukraine are nowhere on here. Where the heck is Kiev or the Kremlin? Also, the other reason we should not send more money to Kiev is due to the fact that we've already sent $14.5 billion to Kiev. And there is so much more that we could spend that money on here. It's no secret that if we get involved more, we're going to have to send more money to Ukraine. Also, the Kremlin is very, very good when it comes to military. Russia has only ever, in recorded history, been invaded twice. One time in the 11th century by the Kievan Rus, and the other time in the 14th century by the Mongols. Clearly, Russia succeeds in their military endeavors almost every time, so it's probably best that the United States not get involved. Now that we've talked money, let's keep an eye on the White House as we talk politics. According to the U.S. Department of State, Russia is a very powerful country that is not to be played with or underestimated. They could make our foreign diplomacy a major headache if we choose to get involved in Ukraine. They could send more nuclear arms to North Korea, help China upgrade their military, and send more weapons and stuff to ISIS in and other places that the U.S. would not want them to be sent. It is also no secret at this point that Putin has been in power for 25 years. That's more than most of the people in this room have been alive. In that time, he has tried to resurrect the Soviet Union, or so he claims. However, he only has 3 pieces of things to show for this. 1, Crimea, on the Black Sea in Ukraine. 2, some parts of Georgia, which is exactly due south of Russia, and 3, the Donetsk regions of Ukraine that he has captured during this Russo-Ukrainian war. Obviously, it's just not worth it. Putin's not very powerful. There's not really much we would be able to do anyway, so it's probably best that the United States not get involved. Now that we have looked at the White House, let's recap on all of the things we have learned today about why the United States should not intervene in Ukraine. First off, we looked at the historical implications of the US intervening in Ukraine and what that could spell. Second, we looked at the economical impact of the US intervening on Ukraine and what that could spell for the United States. And finally, we looked to Kiev, the Kremlin, and the White House and figured out the political reasons the US should not intervene in Ukraine. However, before I at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Health and Human Services, and they're going to decide what to do with this extra funding.